race number 3 of Brands Hatch here at SOP Motorsport this evening. It is Sunday 13th of December and we have just a few more events to close out the remainder of this year. This being the Brands Hatch event this Sunday. We have the Sprint Series tomorrow for the Pro, Silver and Amateurs, and then we do have Zandvoort on Wednesday for the Eastern Time Zone guys, so they will be motoring around Zandvoort on Wednesday, and then we close out the year with a 2.4 hour race around Silverstone. Obviously Lewis Hamilton has the straight named after him today, which was good news for British motorsport and British fans. But TSR Matteo is on pole position and he leads the field round the final turn. He took pole position from Mike and Wake, so Wake is having his first run in the Mercedes, so an interesting switch for him. We'll see how he gets on in this race, and I am also trying out a brand new headset and microphone for this race, so let me know how I sound in the chat guys. Matteo leads the way, he gets a whole shot into turn 1. Mike's still in the pits actually. I'm not sure what's happened to Mike then, he must have forgot to press drive, so Wake will slot into second place then. He's still riding with that pineapple livery then, so nothing's changed for him. He's just switched from a Porsche to a Mercedes and he's there in second, so you've got the TSR boys in first and second. That means Tropic Rot and D-Strap are battling it out. The Lamborghini guys in third and fourth, closely followed by Raw Food in the Audi then. He's getting out of sorts, but he does regather himself, and those guys in the top 5 have just already pulled a bit of a gap to AJS sitting in 6th place in the Porsche. He's also riding with a brand new livery for the Brands Hatch event then. Kimi Brackenen is there in 7th, as the guys just filter through. MSX is in 8th, Stefan's there in 9th, and M. Roche is there in 10th place. Jimbo Horn is 11th, but I believe he's just been overtaken by AJ to the P. AJ's having another outing once again in an SOP Motorsport event. You got Patrazek, who won race number 1, he's down there in 13th place. I believe those guys started at the rear of the field, they didn't bother setting a qualifying time. You got Double O Raven, Mr. John himself, the lead commentator from race number 1 and the lead commentator for our Sprint Series, is featuring in Brands Hatch race number 3 this evening. Mr. Double O Raven there in 14th place. Red Flyer is in 15th, Sir Psycho is 16th. Mr. Death Zone already in the pits, completing his 1 mandatory pit stop then. Mike at the rear of the field, I think he just forgot to press drive, and you've got Katagudis bringing up the rear. 19 runners and riders then, as we do complete lap number 1. So Matteo and Wake are pulling away. They've already got a 2-second gap to Tropic Rock there in 3rd place from D-Strap in 4th. So you got Mercedes. Oh no, we don't have 2 Mercedes at the front. You got the Lexus leading the way, number 23 machine. He's got half a second to Wake. As I said earlier in this stream, Wake is having an outing, his first outing in the Mercedes-Benz machine, so he's seeing what else there is to offer within ACC. Tropic Rock is holding a good 3rd place in that Lamborghini machine from D-Strap and AJS. So a few guys from Australia in this race. Raw Food is there in 6th with Kimi Brackenen closely followed, and there's a massive bunch of, there's a whole train of cars from 7th place down to what looks to be 11th or 12th then. So you got Kimi Brackenen leading the way of this train of cars. MSX from Stefan, Jimboy, AJ and Patrazek, who's having a look at the inside of AJ then. Those two doing battle once again. We'll ride on board with Patrazek and see he gets the inside line done. He gets the move done on AJ. AJ has lost that machine then. He put it in the wall. He was struggling a bit in race number 1. The rear of the car was very, very loose. As John and Bailey did mention a couple of times, he did struggle to get hold of the rear of that machine, and it just caught him out there coming through turn number 1. So Matteo is still leading the way then. He's got half a second on Wake. 2.2 seconds further back is Tropic Rot, and he has dropped D-Strap, so D-Strap is just dropping back from those top 3 runners and riders. AGS is there in 5th, he's having a strong showing. He was a very late entry. He just messaged me saying, I just woke up, can I jump in the race? So there he is, ladies and gentlemen, running in 5th place currently. Raw Food is there in 6th. As once again you got Kimi Bracken, and he's coming under pressure from MSX and Stefan. And Patrozek is making his way up through the field, holding that top 10 position. Just a bit further behind you got Jim Boyhorn from M. Roche and Double O Raven. So some fantastic battles happening out here around Brands Hatch. It is a tight and twisty circuit, so you got to be careful when you're trying to make those overtaking manoeuvres. As nicely up the inside does Red Flyer get the move done on Double O Raven then, so he's going to tuck behind, and he's going to have a sniff into turn 1 then. But he thinks better of it then. He just backs off a little bit from Red Flyer, who's just gone through. It's not Red Flyer. Who is that then? Katagudis rather. So he's coming back through the field after starting, or being at the rear of the field in the opening laps of race number 3, which streamed race 2, but we are here at race 3. We got 4 events, 4 races happening this evening with SOP Motorsport. This is the 3rd race of the evening, and Matteo is the one leading the way, but under pressure. Wake is really putting the pressure on Matteo then. The TSR boys 1st and 2nd, showing the rest of the field how it's done. They've got a 3-second gap, and those two are just pulling themselves along. So it's fantastic racing. They're just giving each other the toe, and they've got a nice 3-second gap to Tropic Rot. Tropic Rot is there in 3rd place. They've got the 2 Lamborghinis running in 3rd and 4th, and they've got a nice gap to AJS. And the top 5, top 6, they're pretty clear then. Kimi Brackenen is there in 7th, as we do see MSX come in very, very early. There's only 6 minutes gone in this race, and he's coming in for his first mandatory stop, his one and only mandatory stop. We'll see if he's just coming in for a splash and dash, or if he's going to put on new rubber. So there's 1 mandatory stop, but there is no mandatory requirements within that stop, and it does look like it was a splash and dash. He's away and gone already. Straight out the pits he goes, so we'll see what type of impact that can have on his race as this race unfolds. Matteo leads Twitch Wake then. The TSR boys are in 1st and 2nd. Tropic Rot is there in 3rd with D-Strap in 4th. D-Strap is closed up again. Less than a second is that gap, so I'm not sure if he just made a mistake a few laps ago as Tropic Rot spins it. He loses that car. D-Strap avoids it. Very, very good there. That could have ended in disaster for D-Strap, so he managed to avoid Tropic Rot, who regathers himself then. He doesn't impede anybody, and he gets himself going. So how far down the order does he drop? I think Patrozek has already got past him, so yeah, he's dropped right down into 9th place then. So Patrozek looking all over the back of Kimi Brackenen. He's now looking up the inside. This is a fantastic drive from Patrozek, who's... oh, there's a bit of contact, The Audi machine just slows it down enough then. It hasn't impacted their race, either of those guys' races, so Patrozek is clear up into 7th, and he's on a mission to get onto the back of Raw Fooder, who is just a few corners ahead of him then. He's got 4 seconds to make up as Patrozek, so that will be one to watch. Raw Fooder is currently in 5th, and you've got AJS in 4th, who is now all over the back of D-Strap. So if D-Strap is not careful, you will have that Porsche machine flying past you. AJS is no slouch. As he comes flying through that fast right-hander then, he's looking for a move, he's sniffing for a move. He's saying, get out of the way, D-Strap, I'm coming through. AGS is on a mission. Nothing to separate those guys in 3rd and 4th, and they're running nose to tail. But they are dropping back massively to TSR Wake and TSR Matteo then, because D-Strap is holding that defensive line, making AJS go the long way round, and obviously these two battling now are just going to slow themselves down quite drastically. We'll see what the time is as they cross the line. 6.7 seconds to a TSR Wake, so quite a substantial gap between those top 4 gentlemen. Raw Food is a bit further back then. He is under pressure from Patrusek already. All it took is 1 lap and Patrusek is through. Actually, we missed that one then, we just missed it. So Patrusek is through up to 5th place then. He looked to he got the move done up the inside into turn 1. That seems to be one of his favourite overtaking places around Brands Hatch this afternoon. So up into 5th Patrusek goes. He is on a mission. AGS, watch your rear view mirrors because this man is on a mission. Gimme Bracken is still holding that 7th place. He's having a good showing there in 7th. And there's quite a big gap back to M. Roche and Sir Psycho. Those guys in 8th and 9th place. The Nissan GTR of Sir Psycho. He's running in 9th currently, holding off Stefan in the Audi. Jim Boyhorn is there in 11th place. The second of the 2 Porsche machines showing in this race number 3. Double O Raven moving up into 12th place then. I believe he qualified down in 14th or 15th, so he's moved up a couple of places from his qualifying spot. AJ to the P then into the pits. I think his race is run. He hasn't been a happy bunny around Brands Hatch this evening. There's Katagudis is there in 17th and Mr. Death Zone is also in the pits in 18th place. His race is run. He is already 6 laps down. But no problems out in front for Matteo. He is on lap number 8 then, and he's pulling away now ever so slightly from TSR Wake. So TSR Wake has dropped 3 seconds adrift. So he's just trying to find a rhythm in that Mercedes-Benz machine. It is his very, very first outing in this machine, so it's very much man and machine trying to find themselves in perfect harmony. He's been very, very loyal to the Porsche machine up until now. It'll be interesting to see if he prefers the Mercedes at the end of this race. D-Strap is there in 3rd place as he dealt with Tropic Rot as Tropic Rot got it all out of sorts a few laps ago. He managed to avoid Tropic Rot, who just dropped it coming through that fast right-hander. And he is now up into 3rd place then, but 3.8 seconds further back is Patrusek. So 48 minutes to go in this one, and I'm sure he's going to be on his tail very, very soon. He is no slouches, PCR Patrusek. Raw Food is there in 5th place. Sound quality is great. Thank you very much for letting me know the sound quality is good. I think it's an improvement compared to my previous headset that I was using, so I'm glad to see that that's paid off. So nothing's happened to AJS. He's just come in for his mandatory stop. No need to worry, Jamer. He's just making his one and only mandatory stop. So he will make his way back up through the field, but as we can see, he has dropped behind MSX. So MSX was an early pitter, and he is definitely making it work for himself then, because he's got the jump on AJS. So three drivers have blinked then: MSX, AJS and AJ to the P. They've all completed their one and only stop this afternoon around this Brands Hatch circuit. Matteo is on to lap number 10 then. His gap is extended to 3.3, 4.1 seconds as the timing screens update. He's got a good cushion, a comfortable cushion over Wake right now. D-Strap is 4 seconds further back in that 3rd place, the final podium position. But look at this, ladies and gentlemen, only 2 seconds further back now is Patrusek, so he is closing in that Ferrari machine. He'll be wanting to make his way up onto the podium. I'm not sure if he will be able to make moves on TSR Wake or TSR Matteo. I think those guys are just a bit too far ahead for Patrusek to catch, but 45 minutes for him to do so. Raw Fuda is there in 5th place. He is 6 seconds back on those guys battling over 3rd. Kimi Brackenen is there in 6th, so he's having a good showing in that Audi machine. You got Audi's running in 5th and 6th right now. Sir Psycho is there in the other Nissan GTR then, so MSX and Sir Psycho are running the Nissan GTRs this afternoon, the number 66 and 78 machines. He is running there in 7th place. M-Rosh is there in 8th. So M-Rosh is one of the new drivers to feature in an SOP Motorsport event. I just need to say a massive thank you on this live stream. We're almost at 1,000 members, guys. Just 30 odd, 25, 30 members left to go. Hopefully we can get there before the end of the year. That will be one fantastic achievement in the 6 months that we've been operating. Jimboy Horn is there in 9th, but he has MSX only 15 seconds adrift, who has made his pit stop. So it just goes to show how far up the field MSX will duly be once these guys have made their pit stops then, because he's going to leapfrog at least Jimboy, M-Rosh and perhaps Sir Psycho, and then he's going to be looking into the top 5 positions. But he does have Tropic all over the back of him, although he does have to complete his mandatory stop, so it's not a battle that needs to happen. Tropic is out of position, but AJS is just a bit further back then. He is the other man who has completed his mandatory stop, so yeah, so it was AJ to the P that ended up in the wall. He lost it into the exit of turn number 1. He just got it into the gravel and then ended up into the wall. So that Bentley machine has been very loose on the rear end, even in race 1 where he was challenging for the lead. He was just very loose on that rear end. So what are the lap times of top 3? So we can't actually see what the lap times are, and that is because the broadcasting features of Assetto Corsa Competizione on PlayStation and Xbox, just console in general, is still not up to scratch of what the PC offers. I do know that Matteo took pole position with, I believe it was 23.6 or 23.7, so very rapid indeed. My pedal plate broke off, Mr. Death Zone, and that is why you are a retiree in this race. That is very unfortunate, sir. I did just check in with TSR Wake very briefly in his Twitch channel, and I did hear him say he was fueling himself to the end, so it's very much going to be a splash and dash for that man when he does come into the pits. Yes, that is very fast indeed. SOP Motorsport has the very best of talent on this sim. I mean, we've got drivers from no less than 25 different communities that compete in our events. And when you've got 25 different communities, there's no doubt going to be rapid drivers from all over the world coming to compete with us. But the beauty of SOP Motorsport events, aside from the Sprint Series, is the fact that we let drivers choose their race events just based on the time preference rather than their speed. So you'll always find drivers battling it out, whether you're at the front of the field or at the rear of the field, as AJS is actually looking to make moves on MSX then. He almost ran into the back of MSX. Through the final turn they go. AJS is looking racy, ladies and gentlemen. He's looking for a move on MSX, really get it done this lap, as MSX Tropic Rot has just got by MSX, so MSX must have made a mistake, and AGS is crawling all over the back of him then. He's looking for the undercut. Can he get the switch back? Not this time round then. He's going to have to wait. Very hard to overtake around this section of Brands Hatch. So just sit yourself behind that rear of that GTR, sir, and I'm sure the opportunity will arise. Let's see how good of an exit he can get through this. left-hander. Can he make a move down this back straight? They go. Does he have the legs? It doesn't look like he's got the legs at the minute. His gap is still around half a second. But those guys running nose to tail, and those two are the lead pair who have made their mandatory stop, the one and only stop that they need to make this afternoon. Tropic Rot is right with him then. He still needs to make his stop, so Tropic Rot is there in 10th place as M. Roche and Jim Boy Horn are doing battle. It's not Jim Boy Horn, rather, it is M. Roche and AJ to the P out of position then. He's 2 laps down, AJ to the P, but he's having some good battles then for what it's worth. M. Roche is there in 9th. Jim Boy is there in 8th then. The second Porsche machine. Currently the lead Porsche machine. Having a strong showing, running in 8th place. So Psycho is there in 7th. Kimi Brackenen is there in 6th. D-Strap is holding that 5th place now. Raw Fuda has moved up into 4th. So D-Strap has lost another place. Patrozek is there in 3rd place. He's 10 seconds adrift of TSR Wake. Those two are away and gone at the front of the field as Matteo hammers in those lap times. He's on lap number 15 then. We'll wait for the time in deltas to update. 6.7 seconds is the gap between himself and his teammate TSR Wake. They're in 1st and 2nd. PCR Patrozek is there in 3rd. He's got 10 seconds to make up on the lead too. We know he's fast, we know he's got the speed. We'll see if these guys have any type of strategy in the pit stop window. Are they fueled to the end? Will they put on fresh rubber? Will they just try and do a splash and dash to save time? But we saw what happened in race number 1, the live streamed race number 1, how those guys who did not pit faded towards the end of the race. Those tyres just did not last the full 60 minutes, unfortunately. But no problems on board Matteo right now. He leads the way. We'll look to the rear of the field. 00 Raven is currently the last man running, but he has completed his mandatory stop, so he will move back up through the field as the rest of the drivers do make their one and only stop. AJ to the P is there in 16th. Katagudis is there in 15th place, and he's got Stefan just ahead of him, who has completed his mandatory stop. We've got a Bentley, a wounded Bentley moving out of the way. Who is that? That is Red Flyer, I believe. So he's just getting out of the way. Problems on board Red Flyer this afternoon, as Tropic Rot does come into the pits then. So we'll see where he filters back out. You got Stefan coming to negotiate the final turn now. So Tropic Rot and Stefan, that's going to be the place around that 13th, 14th position. He's in the pits for quite a long time then, so he must be taking on a bit of fuel, as Stefan does make his way through up into 12th. Also into the pits is Kimi Brackenen then from 7th place. So less than half of the race gone, and there's around half of the field completed their one and only stop. The guys now running at the front of the field, they're the ones that are left to make their mandatory pit stop. Lap number 16 for Matteo. He's got 8 seconds to TSR Wake, who's got 8 seconds to Patrozek. So Patrozek has clawed 2 seconds in the space of 1 or 2 laps. So he has definitely got the pace. We'll see if he can go to the end in what is, I guess, the top 3 must be lapping, doing qualifying times, because they're coming under no pressure. They're not having to deal with any traffic. So it was literally just about pounding around this Brandt circuit and putting those lap times in. Raw Food is having a good showing there in 4th, and D-Strap has just dropped back a little bit, 2.3 seconds adrift. Sir Psycho is there in 6th. Some way adrift then. The top 5 are quite a way ahead of the rest of the field. 6th place Sir Psycho. He's only just coming around the final turn now then, as he does move on to another lap, should I say. Some 12 seconds further back you got Jim Boy Horn. He's running that lime green machine, very much similar to AJ to the P's Indigo Lime Racing. I wonder if there's a connection there or not. I wonder if Baggy is watching the chat and he'll be able to let us know. Or if it's just a coincidence. Mr. Desso, that is commitment to the course if you are drilling brand new holes to fit your pedals to get back into this race, even if you are 15 laps down. Good evening if you are joining us in the chat. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you haven't already liked and subscribed to the channel and video, please do so now. It does mean a lot to us. Hopefully we can close out the year with at least 400 subscribers to the YouTube channel. As apart from the guys running in 12th and 17th, you got Katagudis and Mr. Deathzone. You are looking at the top 7 are the runners and riders who are now left to make their one and only stop. So M. Roche is the one leading the rest of the field. Jim Boyhorn is there in 6th place. We got someone going in the gravel. Who is that? That is AJ to the P once again in the gravel then, so he's not a happy man in that Bentley machine. So Psycho having a strong showing there in 5th place. It's still going to be very interesting to see where MSX and AJS come out then, so we're not sure what's happened to AJS, but he's just dropped well off the back of MSX, so MSX already coming round turns 2, 3 and 4 as AJS is just coming across the line, so somewhere along the way he's dropped 20 seconds as I can see some scuffs on the front of that bumper, so I wonder if he's just lost it. What's going on? Who's dropped out? TSR Matteo looks to have disconnected from the race, ladies and gentlemen. TSR Wake is the new leader. Where has TSR Matteo gone? So he has vanished from this race. TSR Matteo is a clear race leader in what is race number 3 of this evening with SOP Motorsport. He had a good comfortable 8 seconds over TSR Wake. So TSR Wake has inherited this race lead. I'm sure we will still see a fantastic battle for the win as Patrzak is now up into 2nd place and the gap is less than 5 seconds between these top 2. Raw Fuda is a beneficiary and he finds himself in 3rd place right now, 2 seconds ahead of D-Strap. So Psycho moves up to 5th, everybody moves up a place. Jim Boyhorn is there in 6th as AJ to the P has found his way past. Back Jim Boyhorn as he is getting the blue flags. I'm not sure if he's going to move out of the way because we know AJ to the P does have the pace, so he's just trying to unlap himself as he's there in 12th place. So MSX is still the lead car who's made a mandatory stop then, and we will wait for the timing deltas to update so we can see how far back he actually is to Jim Boyhorn. We can see there on the track map the gap between them. Quite a substantial gap. I just do wonder, 20 seconds is the gap. I do just wonder where or if he will be able to catch Jim Boyhorn and Sir Psycho in the pit stop windows. But D-Strap is only 1.5 seconds behind, 1.3 seconds behind Raw Fuda then, so the Lamborghini man, he's coming back into the picture here, challenging Raw Fuda then. I'm not sure if Raw Fuda actually just dropped it or something because there was quite a big gap between those guys, and now all of a sudden D-Strap can see Raw Fuda right in front of him. Raw Fuda is going to have D-Strap all in his rearview mirrors as there's a white flag waved. Thank you, Marshall man, for doing your job. As we do have a spinner. Who is that spinning round? It is a blue Audi. The blue Audi of 00 Raven. What has happened, good sir? You are a spinner. Very, very unfortunate. Get yourself back onto that track. Find that clean gap to rejoin. Very, very unfortunate there. We will ride on board with MSX. We will ride on board with D-Strap. Half a second is the gap. D-Strap looking for a move. He's going to make a move up the inside. He doesn't quite find that gap. Raw Fooder closes that door around turn 3. So D-Strap and Raw Fooder for the final podium position. Then they've got 15 seconds over Sir Psycho. So hopefully those guys don't have it coming together. There's no commentator's curse here. Hopefully we can see a fantastic battle develop between Raw Fooder and D-Strap, as Patrozek is also less than a second away from TSR Wake then. So all of a sudden half of this race complete, and we've got some fantastic battles developing right through the field. TSR Wake and Patrozek, Raw Fooder, D-Strap, they're your top 4. They're all doing battle for position. So Patrozek is just right on the tail of that Mercedes man. Once again he's looking for that move up the turn 1. As tight as you like is TSR Wake, then he's making Patrozek go the long way round. He's saying no thank you sir, you're not having this lead position. He's going to defend it with everything he's got. Who's got the speed? He defends the inside once again. Patrozek right round the outside. Can he make it stick? Not this time around then. So once again fantastic defending from TSR Wake. And Patrozek there in second. Fantastic battling going on between these guys. No contact in sight. As once again Patrozek looking for a move up the inside. Can he get the move done? Do they give each other space? They do. TSR Wake fantastically defends that position. Once again he's flashing the lights, is Patrozek. He's saying get out the way. He wants that number 1 position. That Ferrari machine around Brands Hatch then. Certainly got the speed. Twitch Wake has now had to switch to a more of a defensive race, so his speed is going to be compromised. We will see how he deals with the pressure from Patrozek. So far so good, he hasn't succumbed as he does get it all wide. Oh, TSR Wake spins it, he loses it. I shouldn't have said anything. TSR Wake is all out of sorts then. I'm sure he's going to come into the pit stop, make his one and only mandatory stop. He's not going to continue. Yes, he does indeed. Dart into the pits then. As I just said, he was defending ever so well. He just got a tyre onto the grass and it just sent him round. I don't think there was any contact whatsoever. He just had that massive pressure from Patrozek. So wow, we were. Raw Fooder, there he is. He's up into second place then. So all changed through this field. The top 4 guys, the top 3 guys are left to pit then. Patrozek from Raw Fooder, from D-Strap. All is not lost for TSR Wake. Although he is sitting in the pits for a rather long time. Look at that gap though. 70 seconds is the gap to 5th place MSX. That is some distance. MSX needs to claw back rather. But Wake is just leaving the pits now. So I'm sure he would have had damage to fix. That's probably why he was in the pit stops for such a long time. I wonder if he will be able to regain that podium position at least. He's dropped a hell of a lot of time to D-Strap, Raw Fooder and Patrozek then. As this is the battle to watch. Raw Fooder and D-Strap. They're going at it. Who is that off in the grass? I think that's Stefan. It's not Stefan, it's Kimi Brackenen then. Kimi Brackenen 2 laps down, just moving out of the way for the lead cars. That's very sportsmanlike, as Patrozek then does come into the pits on the very next lap, and he's already out of the pits then. Did he make a pit stop? He hasn't made his one and only mandatory stop. Why is he coming to the pits? He hasn't executed his one and only mandatory stop then, so something has gone terribly wrong there. He's going to be kicking himself because he's still got to come round. He's lost a whole chunk of time during that pit stop window. He's also lost his place to Raw Fooder and D-Strap then, so he finds himself down into 3rd place drama here, ladies and gentlemen, with 26 minutes to go. He finds himself down into third place still with his mandatory stop to do. That is all driver error, ladies and gentlemen. So it is all happening here. All is not lost for TSR Wake then. So Row through the D-strap and Patrusek still got to come in to make their mandatory stops. I wonder what's gone on with Patrusek then, because he did show that he was into the pits. But that mandatory pit stop hasn't gone green. MSX is only 10 seconds adrift of Wake, so I think the timing deltas just didn't update last time I checked. So MSX, as predicted, is up into the top 5. A fantastic showing from that very early stop in the opening laps. Psycho is some 20 seconds adrift there in 6th place. AJS is now there in 7th as everybody does level itself out. So Patrusek again into the pits. Let's see if he does make a stop this time around. Does he stop in his box? He does now make his mandatory stop then, so looks like he's putting on tyres then, because those tyres are wobbling. That looked to be a splash and dash also, I'm not too sure, but he is back out and circulating, as Twitch Wake still hasn't been able to close that gap then. So even though Patrusek had to make 2 stops, Wake with that damage is still so far behind.